quietly, something has changed fundamentally about the Eagles' offense. And when I say the Eagles' offense, what I'm really referring to, guys, is the passing offense. Now I want to take you back and I want to show you guys some spray charts. And I want you guys to see exactly what I'm saying. This was the first time since really the Cleveland game that we had a very dominant, single high, middle of the field close type defense that we came in to play against. Normally when you see this style of defense, they are very much susceptible to the vertical passing game, right? They're susceptible when you're playing quarters. You know, when you're playing quarters, you're taking away things like four verts, right? But when you fall into like cover 3 and cover 1 and things, you're definitely susceptible to being beat on vertical route concepts such as four verts. That really hasn't been the Eagles' offense when you look at what happened in Week 6 with Cleveland compared to Week 15 with Pittsburgh. Very, very different passing games. To begin with, let me just go over some of the numbers that I think are worth knowing here. In Week 6, there were 12 passes under 10 yards. So if you take the line at 10 yards and you just kind of look at those passes, you can see kind of where the flow of the game was. Now, mind you, we do have to skew this a little bit between 25 or 26 passing attempts, I believe it was 25, as compared to 32 passing attempts, right? So we are talking about a 7 attempt difference, and that does have to be factored. But in Week 15, when we looked at passes under 10 yards, there was like 22 passes, guys, under 10 yards. From 10 to 22 passes under 10 yards. Now, when I look behind the line of scrimmage, pretty similar. Different ways in which they were facilitating the offense and doing that. A little bit more screen game kind of built in on this game as compared to like tunnel screen in the Cleveland game. So there's a little difference in the way that checkdowns are working and trying to set up screens. There's some fundamentally differences, but the number is the same. I think one of the bigger markers when you look at the spray chart of things that have changed is there's been 5 passes in the Cleveland game that were above 20 yards. If you take that marker, boom, put it at 20 yards, and you looked at the passes that are on the spray chart, they're showing you 5 in the Cleveland game, Next Gen Stats is. But when you take a look at what happened in Week 15, there's literally one pass that's almost exactly at 20 yards. Could be 21 yards, I can't say. But one pass compared to 5 passes, even though we have an increase of 7 attempts. So right away, you can tell that fundamentally from the passing game, things are definitely different. There is a different concept. And this is normal, guys. I mean, you do alter and change things in 4 to 5 game windows. That is kind of normal to be done. But it's showing out. It's a drastic difference if we're going to be honest. The other thing I noticed is go back to Week 6, look at that spray chart. Look at passes to your left, passes to your right. Almost an even split there if you look at Week 6, right? 11 passes to the left, around 13 or so to the right. Now take a look at yesterday and see what happened. 21 passes to the left, 7 passes to the right. I know that 2 of those passes are subjective, right? We could say that those are really would constitute the middle of the field. So you're really talking about 3 passes that are in the middle of the field. So you subtract 1 from the left, subtract 1 from the right, and you would get 20 and 6. So 21 and 7, 20 and 6, depending on how you want to define those 2 hashtag throws there. The hash mark throws, if you will. Hashtags, yeah, hashtag throws, guys. You can see that the offense is fundamentally different. Now let's get into the finer analytics. Go into the finer analytics. Time to throw. Cleveland game, 2.94. Last week, 3.2, or yesterday, 3.27. I told you that, generally speaking, when you look at this particular type of offense, anything that's in the 2 7s to the 3 1s is in the realm of normal. I will say that there was a couple of passes, not as bad as the week prior, guys, to where the ball probably got held. He probably got moved from the pocket because of pressure, and that's going to extend your passing plays. Also, you got to look at down and distances. If you have procedural penalties that are creating crazy down and distances, such as like a 1st and 20, they convert it. I don't know what Mike Tomlin was thinking. They're not taking that penalty, making it 1st and 30. Those things will hinder your passing numbers, right? So there's always some subjectivity to these numbers, guys. All right. Aggression percentage. In Week 6 versus Cleveland, Cleveland's a good secondary, to be fair, guys. And sometimes a good secondary makes these numbers different. 20% aggression rating. Yesterday versus Pittsburgh, who I don't think their secondary is like terrible, but I don't think their secondary is great either. I think Cleveland's got a better secondary, basically what I'm getting at here, guys. 15.6% aggression rating. A little different, right? A little bit more windows to throw into. But air yards to the sticks, which goes into some of the spray chart stuff we saw. Air yards to the sticks. So on average, how close are you throwing the football to the first down marker? Mind you, procedure penalties and things like that create 1st and 15s, 1st and 20s, 2nd and 20s, blah, 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 blah. Those are going to matter when you're looking at air yards to the sticks, right? That's going to create some haphazard situations. Getting sacked, things like that can definitely make things different. But in the Cleveland game, it was 1.2. So 1.2 yards above the sticks. In this previous game, yesterday's game, it was negative 3.1. Definitely a downward trajectory from the Carolina game. The Carolina game was like negative 4, almost 5, guys. So, I mean, we definitely have a downward trajectory here. But we can see that fundamentally, this offense, this passing offense, it's different. Okay, I know that the 3.27 marker doesn't lend to what I'm going to say that well, and I know that there's circumstances of why that 3.27 marker is there. But on average, if you looked at when the Eagles went tempo yesterday, it was fast. The ball came out fast. In breaking routes to DeVonta, throws right on the hash marks to DeVonta and to AJ. In breaking routes to AJ, it was faster. The actual game in which they're playing, right, the passing game in which they're basically throwing out there within the game plans, it's different. There's been an advancement. There's definitely something different over this last 3 or 4 games. You can see it lay out inside of the film, and you can see it lay out inside of the analytics. You can see that the offense has it's adapted in terms of the passing game. Now, this was the first game we got to see it on full display, to be fair. Right? We didn't really get to see, they kept working at it. It wasn't quite there. The attempts were kind of low. This is the first game where we got an attempt mark above 24 attempts, right? I kept saying, you guys heard me, I said last week, I think the sweet spot for quarterbacks is between 26 and 32 attempts. And I will admit, that's subjective too. Depends on the amount of plays you're running, the amount of offensive possessions you're having. But if we're talking about the average in the mid-60s, high 60s, generally speaking, anything between 26 and 32 attempts means a pretty balanced attack from the offensive side. You're very balanced in how you're attacking them. Generally speaking, and obviously this can be fluctuated by the amount of snaps that you're playing offensively in possessions, but anything above 34 generally means that it is very much quarterback dependent. It's a quarterback dependent offense when they get above 34 normally. Obviously, guys, there's always circumstance. And then the last part is, generally speaking, if you're under 24 attempts, that's normally when you see them scaling back and pulling back from the quarterback. So this was clearly the first game where we saw the offense get scaled and they leaned on Jalen. Let's be honest. Saquon got injured in this game. Saquon still had an effective game, but he wasn't great. He wasn't Saquon, right? He wasn't what Saquon has been so far this season in this game. I got to give Pittsburgh a lot of credit. I thought they defended Saquon very, very well. This was the game everyone kept saying, what happens when someone takes Saquon away? Well, not only did they take Saquon away in terms of being able to, win a pretty good amount of the snaps there in terms of the run game, but they literally took him away from large periods of the game because he got beat up a little bit in this football game. And the offense had to fall back on Jalen Hurts. Jalen passed with flying colors, guys. I don't care how much y'all want to hate. This young man passed with flying colors. This young man really did the job. He had a heck of a game. It wasn't perfect, and that's the scary part. There's still plenty if you're a coach to go in there and work on. There's plenty to challenge this offense about. And it's already this good. I don't know if I'm going to suspect or expect, probably depends upon the health of Saquon Barkley. I don't know how much we're going to see the offense get kind of mixed into a heavy passing offense. I don't know if we're going to see that over the next 3 games. But, I mean, it'd be interesting to see if there's a slight uptick, right? We got a 32-attempt game. Are we going to see 24 to 26 attempts now? And I do think a lot of that's going to depend upon A.J. Brown's health, Devontae's health, Saquon's health. I think they're going to lean on, number one, what are defenses doing? How are they playing you? But then also, what are they doing in terms of health-wise? Who's healthy? I think it's going to play a role here, to be quite honest. And the last thing I will point out is, keep in mind, you play single high, you're bringing an extra man into the box. When you play single high, you're able to afford yourself to bring an extra man into the box to stop the run. So, obviously, if Jalen's looking out there and he's seeing single high coverage, he knows, okay, I'm going to have an advantage somewhere in the passing game. I just need to locate and find the advantage and get the ball there. I'm a little concerned about the protection. This is 2 straight weeks where I thought the protection wasn't bad. It wasn't great, though, either. And I do think this game is more concerning than last week's game because of injuries, not because of performance. That was a heck of a pass rush, guys. I mean, I don't know that you're going to face a better pass rush than Pittsburgh for the rest of the year. Pittsburgh has got a really good pass rush, to be honest about it. They got a trio. Well, really, they got more than a trio because Hayward can really rush the passer as well. So, I mean, they got a group of guys there who can really, from the interior to the outside edge players, they can really rush the quarterback. That team can. I'm a little concerned because, like, Dickerson going down in that game. I know that we did get the big guy back at right guard. So Becton did return in the game, but you get what I'm saying. Like, Lane missed a snap there. Like, I'm a little concerned about the health of the offensive line. Like, I want to make sure those guys are healthy because, I know we're in the mix to get the number 1 seed, but I also would rather go in healthy than I trust this team to be able to go on the road and win a game. I'm not worried so much about that as other people are. I mean, yes, is it an advantage? Of course it's an advantage, but I don't think it's like a do or die thing, to be quite honest. Like, I would much rather this team go in healthy than anything because, I mean, health, I think, is going to play a big role in this playoffs, to be quite honest. Like, Minnesota, they're sniffing the air right now. Minnesota is around all these Detroit injuries, so we'll see how that kind of pays its way out, guys, in terms of the seeding for the playoffs and the overall health of this football team, because I think that's important. All right, y'all, I appreciate y'all's time and attention. Hey, if you want to join the Cerebral Football community, I would love to add you. I just need you to click right here to do that. And also, if you want to learn more about the Eagles, if you want to learn a little bit more about scheme or player analysis and development and things like that, if you want to learn the particulars of things, click this video right here. YouTube says that's the one for you. All right, y'all. Peace. I'm out of here.